Ding dong! Hello everyone, welcome back. Secret Teachings of All Ages, Introduction Part 3, we're almost through it, we're probably going to get it today. So, howdy. If you're watching from the future or in the chat right now and you want to help support these streams, please do consider donating. You can set up a monthly donation via Ko-fi account, because I hate Patreon, or you can give a one-time donation via PayPal. Or consider becoming a YouTube member so you can talk to me in the secret Telegram chat. I also have crypto wallets because I don't like taxes. Now, what is going on? Let me check the chat. Howdy another guy. Howdy Nulu. Bob Alis. Hello. Surf. What's going on? Out tuition. Tyler. Nice. Self-dribbling basketball. What anime y'all talking about? We're talking about Lord of Mysteries, because that's the thing I'm addicted to at the moment. Hey, Spectral Valkyrie, good to see ya. Hey. Shireen Dulanya, spicy. Tetronym, howdy. Man, we've got a lot of people in today. Let's just jump right into it. I believe last time we just finished reading this family tree of the tree of classical mythology. We had like read up to here, and then I think I read this last description, and then we kept on going on, and then yeah, I think that's where we left last time. You guys kept on goading me into reading another paragraph. Is that plane going by? Dun 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 dun. I hope you guys can't hear that. How Adamu in the chat says, how is Manly so unmanly, yet so giga-manly? I think it's just because he's from the 1920s, bruh. He looks like the bad guy in a movie from the 1920s with that mustache, like, get 'em, boys. You know, like that's the kind of ambiance he gives off, doesn't he? Yeah, he's got that early 1900s swagger, Craig. I agree. Now, so we're gonna move on. We're going on. He does that. Yes, he looks like Gomez Addams from the Addams Family. 100%. 100%. Is there any way to raise the output volume on the mic? Pee pee poo poo. Is it better if I just lean in, or I mean, actually, are my settings still in? Let me just see. Let me check that out, Surf. Thank you for mentioning that. Filters. No, I got that. It's all good. It's still there. Okay. Is it a little bit low for you? Shorty low? Shorty a little bit low, Seth? Anyway. I'll just yap louder, shall I? Now, let's jump into Arthur Shopey's. Hello? Someone sent me a friend request on Facebook. Anyway. The true subject of Arthur Schopenhauer's philosophy is the will, not just being an emo sad boy. Whoa, oh my god. Oh, and by the way, if you want to, like, follow along, you can use this website, the agora.space, and you can find in the library section. There should be a link in the description if you want to follow along. Out tuition, perfect way to cap off a great day. Oh, that's good. You having a good day? That's good. You're feeling love again, homies. Well, now it's time to get black-pilled with Schopenhauer. Another guy says agora as in now in Portuguese. No, I think agora as in open space, as in ancient Greece, not Portuguese. Now, the object of his philosophy is the elevation of mind to the point where it is capable of controlling the will. Really? Really? Okay, I guess because, I mean, Schopenhauer is pro-asceticism. And he sees the will as this undulating thing that is just, you know, wills, and asceticism is the best thing that you can ever do. So I guess that kind of makes sense. Schopenhauer likens the will to a strong, blind man who carries on his shoulders the intellect. Okay. Which is a weak, lame man possessing the power of sight. Okay, so the will and the intellect are like two bros that just need to get along. The will is the tireless cause of manifestation, and every part of nature the product of will. This is how you manifest things, through the will. The brain is the product of the will to know. Come now, Manly. We don't need to get into biological materialism. We're all esotericists here, Manly. The hand, the product of the will to grasp. The entire amongst other things, the entire intellectual and emotional constitutions of man are subservient to the will and are largely concerned with the effort to justify the dictates of the will. Thus the mind elaborates systems of thought simply to prove the necessity of the thing willed. So that's interesting, because that's kind of true. He's basically saying, you know, we will things and then we just do them and then we rationalize them in retrospect, which, you know, they've kind of found we do that. We do that. Force of will, best Magic the Gathering card. Fight me, says Adamo. Are you a filthy green-white player, or do you play a blue deck, Adamo? Disgusting. Self-dribbling basketball, drinking a cool glass of milk, solo cup. Who else got bevs on hand? Yeah, make sure you have a beverage, just so you got to take a shot every time I pronounce something wrong. Trivia King says that's BS. Most people have no will. Yeah, I agree. This is what Shopi's basically saying is more, I guess, more akin to desire or drives. Like, you know, Shopi predates Nietzsche, and Nietzsche was the one who says man is more like an aggregate. Man has more drives. So that's like what Schopenhauer is kind of getting at, is just more this like subterranean undercurrent of like, you know, desires. That's what people have. He has the, you know, the will to show in Schopenhauer is more of a this chthonic undercurrent that just pushes things along. Schopenhauer is very pessimistic. He's very pessimistic. He has an interesting metaphysic, how it all comes out, but the will is not necessarily something you can control, according to Schopenhauer. The will can will anything, but it can't will itself. Hence, where, you know, that's what we're trying to do fundamentally. So he's got an interesting metaphysics. Schopenhauer is esoteric and a little bit mystical, but he's fundamentally has a pessimistic outlook. Like, it's just the way it is, bro. And it's like, nah, there's more to it than that. There's more to it than that, Shopi. It's okay, Shopi. You don't need to be sad so often. Blue is the disgusting troll of Magic the Gathering. I agree, Outtuition. I agree. I mean, it's hard because back in the day, I did a lot of those. What are the, like, just kind of with friends, we got a bunch of booster packets and opened them up and did like the draw around, and you take a card out and then move the packet along and you just make decks and like fight each other. That was so fun, but it was always like the guy who went white-green was just the biggest dick. That was, But blue is basically like, oh, you have cards in your deck? I counter. So, you know, we all dislike a good blue deck. From good Jussi to Shopi. Shopi seconds. Howdy, Nick D. Spectral Valkyrie says emo. Yes, Shopi was an emo. Drafting, that's what it's called. Drafting. I completely forgot. That, and I'm pulling that out of the spank bank. That's like more than 10 years ago I did drafting with friends. Is this a Magic the Gathering stream? I'm trying to get back to Manly, okay? We need to... I swear to God, we're going to finish this goddamn intro this stream, okay? Now, where are we up to? Thus, the mind creates elaborate systems of thought simply to... Yes, okay. Genius, however, represents the state wherein the intellect has gained supremacy over the will, and the life is ruled by reason and not by impulse. Interesting. The strength of Christianity, said Schopenhauer, lay in its pessimism, how very Shopi, and conquest of the individual will. His own... It's like he has so many things he has some things in him, Shopi, but I really, like, when I read stuff like this, I'm like, no wonder Nietzsche hated you. And Conquest of the Individual, his own religious viewpoints resembled closely the Buddhistic, which a lot of people say that now. You know, Schopenhauer was around the time when the Buddhist Sutras first got translated out of, you know, Sanskrit or Pali or whatever into German. Actually, did he translate them? He was definitely around when they were translated, and he also read the Upanishads and all of that kind of stuff, so he's definitely influenced by Eastern stuff. But people forget that Schopenhauer was also a big fan of Jakob Boehm. So really, Shopi, I actually see him more as a crypto-Gnostic in a certain way. In a certain way. He's got a lot of problems, though. A lot of hang-ups. Sir Willie Smalls. Howdy, Sir Willie Smalls. To him, nirvana represented the subjugation of will, life, the manifestation of the blind will to live. He viewed as a misfortune, claiming that the true philosopher was one who, recognizing the wisdom of death, resisted the inherent urge to reproduce his kind. Good God. Good. See, this is where people think all German philosophy just sounds like this, just a depressed boy. It's all thanks to Schopenhauer. Our tuition says, I think if one has such a large force of will within them, they can be totally possessed by it. It might be better to call them a vessel for that will made manifest. Yes, Kimberly, Schopenhauer was the original incel. Straight up, straight up. Oh, Adamu said Shopi had a reverse mystical experience somewhere. Okay, okay. But the what Outtuition said about being possessed by will, there's, I mean, this is just it. This is where we get esoteric. Is there are things that can be imbued into people before birth that definitely manifest within them, and they're more like a fish being carried down the stream. Their greatness isn't necessarily them, it's the fate that has been bestowed upon them. Anyway. But, by the stars. Now, and if that will within isn't your own. Yes, indeed. Indeed. But let's get... We're just doing... This is just banal European philosophy. It's got a little bit of esoteric in it, but let's just, you know, you take it with a grain of salt at this point in time. But we get into Nietzsche here. Let's see what Manley says about Nietzsche. So, of Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche, it has been said that his peculiar contribution to the cause of human hope was the glad tidings that God had died of pity. That's pretty funny. Not very accurate, though. The outstanding features of Nietzsche's philosophy are his doctrine of eternal recurrence, true, and the extreme emphasis placed by him upon the will to power, based, and a projection of Schopenhauer's will to live, or I would say an extension of or an improvement thereupon. Nietzsche believed the purpose of existence to be the production of a type of all-powerful individual designated by him the Superman. Technically, yes. This Superman was the product of careful culturing, for if not separated forcibly from the mass and consecrated to the production of power, the individual would sink back to the level of the deadly mediocre. Love, Nietzsche said, should be sacrificed to the production of the Superman, and those only should marry who are best fitted to produce this outstanding type. So, esoteric eugenics. Nietzsche would probably be a Chad Red Green Magic the Gathering player. Okay, what kind of like red deck would he run? Like, I can't imagine Nietzsche playing like a goblin deck or something like that. I can imagine him going, I can go in green. I can imagine Nietzsche doing a black-white deck. That's what I imagine Nietzsche playing. Like, he's gone beyond good and evil. He's gone beyond... Nietzsche uses a black and white deck with a lot of, like, gray artifacts. That's the Magic the Gathering deck that Nietzsche uses. This sounds like the creation of Captain America. Yeah, I mean, look, Manley is skipping over a lot of stuff. He's recapping Western philosophy for us, basically. So he's not diving deep into it. Like, what... Really, the way I like to describe Nietzsche's Superman is more in a reference to the eternal recurrence. Like, Nietzsche, basically, when he says the eternal recurrence, he makes it really dark. Like, imagine yourself not at your best. Imagine your worst. The worst day you ever lived. Or, like, imagine your most depressed moment in life. Your girl's left you, your dad just died, you lost your job. The worst moment in your life. Now imagine, at that worst moment, that a little demon comes and lands on your shoulder and says, no matter how high you climb, no matter how much you improve, even if in another life, if reincarnation is true, in another life you come back, and you come back as a king, you come back as a lord, you come back as a great inventor, a great master, no matter how much you improve, you will always end up back here. And it's like, if you really contemplate that, in your darkest moment, if someone was to say that, not only, it's not because it's like you can't, it's not that you would want to cease to live, you would want to cease being. And basically, Nietzsche's Superman is the person who can be in that state and hear the demon say that. And the Superman is the person who will look at that and will say, I don't care. And will sublimate their desires into the will to power and live an ascetic life anyway. That's the motherfucking Superman. That's what the Superman does. The Superman is resistant to the eternal recurrence. People who contemplate the eternal recurrence properly would either, they don't want to kill themselves, they want to cease to be. And it's just like they would just give in to their desires. They would just allow themselves to degenerate. They would just allow themselves to die. The Superman says no, and he creates an artistic life anyway. That's the Superman. That's what's based about the Superman. Adamu. He ain't playing green. We're just talking about what deck Nietzsche's going to play in Magic the Gathering now, huh? By the way, sir. Howdy, Coco. Now, Nietzsche also believed in the rule of the aristocracy, very based, both blood and breeding being essential to the establishment of this superior type. Nietzsche's doctrine did not liberate the masses. It rather placed over them supermen, for whomst their inferior brothers and sisters should be perfectly reconciled to die. Yes. Plato would be proud. Philosopher King Guardians, rise up. Ethically and politically, the Superman was a law unto himself, very based, very based. Homelander would be pleased. To those who understand the true meaning of power to be virtue, self-control, and truth, the identity behind Nietzsche's theory is apparent. To the superficial, however, it is a philosophy heartless and calculating. Nah, man, you gotta read some more Nietzsche, Manly. I'm sorry. Concerned solely with the survival of the fittest. Manly, disappointing. I mean, he's being a generalist here. Let's forgive Manly and keep going. Bruh, out tuition. We all know he'd end up as a blue player. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. There's got to be some artifacts. I can imagine Nietzsche playing like a crazy artifact deck, man. There's got to be, I don't know, maybe if he plays like a black, I'm thinking black and white, because then you get like Doomblade, and you can just, that's really easy to get out, and you just like, you know, that can negate a bunch of stuff. Another guy says, this sounds extremely like Buddhism's objective to attain enlightenment. Yeah, so basically a bodhisattva. No, not a bodhisattva, not an arhat. But something like a Mahasiddha is kind of like a cognate to Nietzsche's Superman. That would be where Nietzsche and Buddhism touch tips. But like, not a true touch tips. Like the penises are floppy and the foreskin is still like over the tips, but they just kind of like gently rub against each other. It's not like real Buddhism to Nietzsche connection, but there's a little bit of something there. You know what I mean? I've got to clip that eternal recurrence definition. Okay. I'll do it, just for you self-dribbling basketball. He's playing, oh, Adam, he's playing Esper, white, black, and blue. Man, I haven't played Magic the Gathering in a while. I only know Yu-Gi-Oh, says another guy. Yu-Gi-Oh, very based, very based. What Yu-Gi-Oh deck would Nietzsche play? Oh shit, he'd be a colorless / 5-color deck. Maybe. The positive philosophy of Auguste Comte. So Auguste Comte is an interesting guy because he did he found sociology? But he has a very interesting sociological... He's a French utopianist. If you read Auguste Comte's Wikipedia, it's hilarious because he's like, crazy French man continuously writes to the government being like, you need to accept my utopian vision. Literally goes insane, ends up in a madhouse, gets out again, and then continuously sends letters to the government being like, trust me, bro, trust me. Oh, Cheruva King, thank you for the $5. Pythagoras plushie, okay. I'll get a jacked math teacher as a plushie. This is for the, remember, we're donating to try and, what mascot, stream mascot should I have? Pythagoras plushie, that would be an interesting one to get. It's either that or, we'll think, what was the other ones? Bird plushie, or maybe like a cardboard cutout of Ryan Gosling, that would be, those are the other ones. Now, wait, don't skip Descartes, Lemo. Oh shit, did I skip Descartes? Oh fuck, where did I jump a bunch? Whoa, I accidentally jumped a bunch. Survival of the fittest. Yeah. Thank you, Tetronym. So I was yapping about Magic the Gathering so much. Guys, you're distracting me. Bruh. Of the other German schools of philosophic thought, limitations of space preclude detailed mention. The more recent developments of the German school are Freudianism and relativism, very true, often called Einsteinian theory. The former is a system of psychoanalysis through psychopathic and neurological phenomena. The latter attacks the accuracy of mechanical principles dependent upon the present theory of velocity. Okay. Another guy says... Sorry, I'm trying to read another guy's comment, and then above him it's like Adamov's just like, you should get a Ryan Gosling flesh homunculus. No. Another guy says, at Richard, since we reached a little bit above the half of the goal in the previous stream, does the progress save, or is this like a roguelike? It's a roguelike. It's a roguelike. René Descartes stands at the head of the French school of philosophy and shares with Sir Francis Bacon the honour of founding the systems of modern science and philosophy. True dat, y'all. True dat, y'all. As Bacon based his conclusions upon observation of external things, so Descartes founded his metaphysical philosophy upon observation of internal things. So this is the birth of... This is rationalism versus empiricism here, the birth. It's all because of the French. Another guy, this is a scam, weeping flower. Yeah, bro, come on. Boy's gotta eat. It's okay. We'll get a plushie. We'll get a plushie eventually. Maybe... You're making me feel bad now. Maybe I'll buy a plushie. Anyway. Cartesianism, the philosophy of Descartes, first eliminates all things and then replaces as fundamental those premises without which existence is impossible. Descartes defined the idea as that which the mind, when we conceive a thing, the truth of an idea, must be determined by the criteria of clarity and distinctness. Hence, Descartes held that a clear and distinct idea must be true. Descartes has the distinction also of evolving his own philosophy without recourse to authority. He's a free thinker. Consequently, his conclusions are built up from the simplest of premises and grow in complexity as the structure of his philosophy takes form. Very good. But he doesn't mention how Descartes got destroyed by that random Bohemian princess. Zamplify says, that would be putting Descartes before the horse. That's pretty funny. Outtuition, I asked Grok and it said Nietzsche would be red-black based on his philosophy. Okay. Okay. So Nietzsche would be a Magic the Gathering player who plays a red-black deck. I mean, I can see it. I can see it. What is... Because red has a lot of damage cards, and black has a lot of, you know, damage over time as well. It also just has a lot of destruction cards. So I can imagine Nietzsche just going full berserk mode. That could be, yeah, that could be a thing. I can kind of see it. But I personally, I think Nietzsche would go white-black, just because Beyond Good and Evil, it's very on brand, and also he would have some colorless artifacts. Like, what's the one, Steam Colossus? It's like it's an artifact that's, requires 10 of any, like a colorless 10 of any, field, and then it's just indestructible, and it's like a 10/10 with trample or something. I can imagine some shit like that. I think, therefore, I goon. Exactly. Nietzsche playing Rakdos, what's that? I haven't played Magic the Gathering in a long time, so you're going to have to give me the upkeep. Now we go to Auguste Comte. Okay, so Auguste Comte, crazy Frenchman utopianist, based upon the theory that human intellect develops through 3 stages of thought. The first and the lowest stage is theological, the second metaphysical, and the third and highest positive. Thus, theology and metaphysics are feeble intellectual efforts of humanity's child mind, and positivism is the mental expression of the adult intellect. Now, Comte has an interesting utopian vision, but this is retarded. He's basically just like, people need to discard metaphysics and theology and just get real, bruh. He's the original edgelord. Man, Comte is the original Redditor. In the Cause de Philosophie, Positive, Comte writes, in the final, the positive state, so positivism is basically the philosophical position that the only evidence or data or truth that you can derive comes from the physical or physical senses. It's a physicalism philosophy, very much like empiricism. Empiricism and positivism are very similar. In the final, the positive state, the mind has given over the vain search after absolute notions, the origin and destination of the universe, and the causes of phenomena, and applies itself to the study of their laws. That is, their invaluable relations of succession and resemblance, reasoning and observation duly combined, are the means of this knowledge. What is he? Wait, is he just saying you discard absolute notions? Discard the search for absolute truth. Blah, 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 blee, blee, blue. Sounds French and gay. Let's go. Let's go. Comte's theory is described as an enormous system of materialism. Yes. According to Comte, it was formerly said that the heavens declare the glory of God, but now they only recount the glory of Newton and Laplace. Among the French schools of philosophy are traditionalism, often applied to Christianity, but I think this is pre-Guénon, so I'm not sure if he's going to get into that. Self-dribbling basketball says, was reading another book and the author randomly dropped a quote from The Secret of the Golden Flower and I gooned. Based. Very based. Which esteems tradition as the proper foundation for philosophy. So it's not a Guénonian traditionalism. The sociological school, which regards humanity as one vast social organism, the encyclopedists, whose effort to classify knowledge according to the Baconian system revolutionized European thought, Voltaireanism, which assailed the divine origin of Christian faith and adopted the attitude of extreme skepticism toward all matters pertaining to theology, and Neocriticism, a French revision of the doctrines of Immanuel Kant. Oh, okay. Adamu, I'm sorry, this discussion has to be settled. We must perform a spiritualist necromancy session and play some Magic the Gathering with great philosophers. Adamu. Thank you for the $5 as well, £5. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it, Adamu. Let's do it. I just can't with this guy, says Out Tuition. Yeah. The French are very gay. I mean, what would other philosophers do? What would Plato do? I think Plato would just go pure white deck, wouldn't he? Plato would be a pure white player. Disgusting. What's Kant gonna play? Oh, Rousseau would play green. For real. Rousseau would just be all green. Full green player. Anyway, we got to keep going, guys. Henry Bergson, based, Based. This is before Bertrand Russell ruined Henry Bergson and made everyone just forget him. Bertrand Russell and Einstein both dissed Bergson, and he has been forgotten, but this guy is based. Henry Bergson, the intuitionalist. So he has a philosophy of intuition, which is very interesting. Undoubtedly, the greatest living French philosopher, very based, presents a theory of mystic anti-intellectualism, founded upon the premise of creative evolution. So Bergson, I don't think there's any connection to him and Schelling, but apparently Bergson has a connection to Leibniz. And from Leibniz to also Plotinus, there's this secret Hermetic lineage. And like Bergson is at the forefront of it. After Bergson, the only person who takes up his stuff, everyone forgets him. All of the French philosophers, no one else reads French philosophy. All of the other French philosophers forget him, and they all become Marxist communists. There's only one that remembers Bergson, and that's Deleuze, and he's just impenetrable. So I kind of want to read Bergson and just get deep in his Bergosi. So presents a theory of mystic anti-intellectualism founded upon the premise of creative evolution. His rapid rise to popularity is due to his appeal to the finer sentiments in human nature, which rebel against the hopelessness and helplessness of materialistic science and realistic philosophy. So Bergson also has ideas that anticipate Edmund Husserl. So Bergson, even though he's not a phenomenologist, he's kind of doing phenomenology before Husserl is. He's very forward-thinking. I learned Bergson from my acquaintance, who is a mega leftist, which was odd, but then, again, the guy was the smartest idiot I've ever met. Well, yeah, that's interesting. So Bergson, yeah, I think he was pretty left for his day. But, you know, I wonder what he would be doing nowadays. I wonder what Magic the Gathering deck he would play. Maybe he would be a blue player. Bergson sees God as life continually struggling against the limitations of matter. Yeah, so there's this esoteric vitalism behind there. Pan-vitalism, baby, let's go. He even conceives the possible victory of life over matter. Yes, and in time, the annihilation of death. The universe is a machine that creates gods. Henry Bergson, let's go. Applying the Baconian method to the mind, John Locke, the great English philosopher, snoozefest, declared that everything which passes through the mind is a legitimate object of mental philosophy. And these mental phenomena are as real and valid as the objects of any other science. That's kind of interesting, because it means stories are real psychic objects or organs that live. So you shouldn't just violate stories by adding your own characters into them and changing certain things that happen by like making gay prequels and adding weird characters and things like that and destroying the lore. You shouldn't do things like that. In his investigations of the origin of phenomena, Locke departed from the Baconian requirement that it was first necessary to make a natural history of facts. Okay. The mind was regarded by Locke to be blank until experience is inscribed upon it. Oh, Locke. So naive. Oh my god. Thus, the mind is built up of received impressions plus reflection. Yes, almost. So close. The soul, Locke believed, to be incapable of apprehension of deity. Cringe. And man's realization of cognition of God to be merely an inference of the reasoning faculty. Why are they so cringe around this time? David Hume was the most enthusiastic and also the most powerful of the disciples of Locke. Okay. Is that so? Another guy asks, you can add say Gex to any famous Greek philosophers in their history wouldn't be violated. Exactly. Attacking Locke's sensationalism, Bishop George Berkeley. Oh yeah, so this is George Berkeley, the idealist. This is the crazy idealist as well, Berkeley's idealism. Substituted for it a philosophy founded on Locke's fundamental premises, but which he developed as a system of idealism. Idealism. Berkeley held that ideas are the real objects of knowledge. He declared it impossible to adduce proof that sensations are occasioned by material objects. He also attempted to prove that matter has no existence based. Berkeleyanism holds that the universe is permeated and governed by mind. Thus, the belief in the existence of material objects is merely a mental condition, and the objects themselves may well be fabrications of the mind. It's not good, because he takes it to such an extreme, he just kind of goes crazy. But I find it funny. At the same time, Berkeley considered it worse than insanity to question the accuracy of the perceptions. For if the power of the perceptive faculties be questioned, man is reduced to a creature incapable of knowing, estimating, or realizing anything whatsoever. It's very interesting, because that kind of makes him what would you say, like a sensorial idealist, someone who, instead of, like, Hegel was a rationalist, and his rationalism and his idealism are together, where here it's more like empiricism and idealism are combined in Berkeley. Very interesting. In the associationalism of Hartley and Hume, was advanced the theory that the association of ideas is the fundamental principle of psychology, and the explanation for all mental phenomena. Yeah, there's a lot of... cutting the chain of associations is a key to meditation. Hartley held that if a sensation be repeated several times, there is a tendency towards its spontaneous repetition, which may be awakened by association with some other idea through the object causing the original reaction be absent. Very interesting. He's almost getting into ideas of, like, hypnosis and autism. The utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham, Archdeacon Paley, and James, is that William James, and John Stuart Mill, declares that to be the greatest good, which is the most useful, to the greatest number. John Stuart Mill believed that if it is possible through sensation to secure knowledge of the properties of things, it is also possible through a higher state of the mind. Ooh, that is intuition or reason, to gain knowledge of the true substance of things. Okay, John Stuart Mill has been redeemed. It means he allows for mysticism. Darwinism is the... Outtuition says... Oh, talking to Tyler, never mind. You guys talk to each other in chat. Darwinism is the doctrine of natural selection and physical evolution. It has been said of Charles Robert Darwin, his middle name was Robert, that he determined to banish spirit altogether from the universe and make the infinite omnipresent mind itself synonymous with the all-pervading powers of an impersonal nature. Agnosticism and neo-Hegelianism are also noteworthy products of this period of philosophic thought. The former is the belief that the nature of ultimates is unknowable, the latter an English and American revival of Hegel's idealism. Dr. J.W. Durant declares that Herbert Spencer's great work, First Principles, made him almost at once the most famous philosopher of this time. Spencerianism is a philosophic positivism which describes evolution as an ever-increasing complexity, with equilibrium as its highest possible state. According to Spencer, life is a continuous process from homogeneity to heterogeneity. What does he mean by that? What does he mean by that? Quality of state of being, all the same or the same kind. And so I assume hetero is the opposite. So it's about differentiation and multiplicity. I'm just double checking, guys. Diverse. Okay. Yeah. So things being bland and the same to diverse and different. And then back, okay, from diversity to a singularity. Very interesting. Howdy, Akash. Howdy. Life will never be the same. Life also involves the continual adjustment of internal relations to external relations. Most famous of all Spencer's aphorisms is the definition of deity. God is infinite intelligence, infinitely diversified through infinite time and infinite space, manifesting through an infinite, ever-evolving individualities. Okay, that's interesting. That's a very interesting, what do you call it, pee-pee poo-poo definition of God there, because he has it as a kind of mind, but it's also collective and it's also outside of time. Very interesting. D in the chat, hey Richard, I listened to your older video about ceremonial magic and loved it. How much skepticism should I read this book with? I see the CIA posted on their website. Yeah, I know, right? How much skepticism? Just, I mean, just do the Aristotle. It's the mark of an intelligent mind to entertain a thought without believing it. Just hold it in suspension. Because this book itself is a generalist overview of the Western tradition. He's just starting off with philosophy, but he's going to get into all sorts of things. So it's probably one of the best, almost like, I don't want to say beginner book as in it's basic, but I want to say like, this is good foundational thinking. So we take everything in, but we hold it in suspense until it's useful. Because that's what knowledge should be, useful to us. Pardon me, I've got a little hair in my mouth. Yes. Now, let's get down and dirty. The University of the Law of Evolution was emphasized by Spencer, who applied it not only to the form, but also to the intelligence behind the form. In every manifestation of being, he recognized the fundamental tendency of unfoldment, from simplicity to complexity, observing that when the point of equilibrium is reached, it is always followed by the process of dissolution. According to Spencer, however, disintegration took place only that reintegration might follow upon a higher level of being. Very interesting. So this is kind of esoteric. So from simplicity to complexity, and then it kind of dissolves. So here's the thing for us. If we think of the ladder of being of Neoplatonism, or, think of theosophy, we have intelligences or consciousness at a certain level, a base level, like an elemental level, and then it moves up, and you could say plants have a certain level, and then you move up into animals, and then from animals, you then have human intelligence and consciousness. What's beyond there? How do we get beyond that? How do we achieve that jump? Because what happens is the human, there's a kind of a roof there. It's not automatic. Consciousness and spirit and essence just seems to flow through these kingdoms, and once it reaches humans, it just bends back down, and it flows around like that. There needs to be something to break the circle, to go from human to something else. We need to create that jump. So instead of a dissolution happening, we need to somehow figure out, instead of a disintegration, and this is interesting because it's like it disintegrates and then it like reintegrates, and you still kind of gain something as you go through this cycle. But really, you have to jump beyond the wheel, beyond the wheel. And this is where I think Ray Peat becomes important, because that's his whole kind of take. He says, like, when you look at evolution, or when you look at things like peacock feathers, where do they exist? He says they don't exist in the desert. In the desert, where there's lack of resources, that's where you see animals becoming smaller, more compact. Where there's a surplus, that's where you see peacock feathers. And it's like, there needs to be some kind of surplus of energy. A surplus of something that allows us to take that step from like human to the next level. We need a surplus of what? Of vril, of exiohari, of something. And this may be the key to like what, magical practice is. Spectral in the chat. Francis Bacon, OG positivist. Yeah. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. The New Atlantis would be a great book for an esoteric study group. Yes. Yeah. There's so many books. Another guy says, it's funny that I saw the exact opposite reaction to the CIA posting the astral projection stuff, like, as if they posting it gives AP more credibility. I mean, yeah, because it's like, if they're interested in it, then it must be real. Whereas when people look at this, it's just data. So it's like, have they tampered with it? Kind of, that's the whole kind of thing. But I mean, that's what I see when, you know, like, that's why I'm a little bit skeptical of some binaural beat stuff, because a lot of the binaural beats and, you know, hemisync, all of that comes from the CIA. So I'm kind of like, Raymond Pete. Ray Pete. Very interesting. Yeah, Ray Pete was... People see him as like a dietitian, but he was a biologist who... He makes, like... You read his book, and he's got, like, William Blake quotes next to, like, Edmund Husserl quotes. He's very interesting. He had a completely different outlook on evolution and human health. It's very interesting. His whole shtick was, no, don't, like, lower metabolism, raise metabolism. The healthier you are, is like, raise metabolism as high as you can. Like, that's the kind of key to health. Lower inflammation and raise metabolism. Tetronym, is the book cover supposed to look like a peacock as in this one? Technically, no. I mean, it does look like that from a distance. That's just the Yggdrasil tree of Norse mythology. And there's the world of fire and the world of ice. What is that? Niflheim and what's the... Throsselheim? What's the fire? I keep on forgetting the fire world in Norse mythology. But yeah, this is just a Jonathan Augustus Knapp's art. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm sorry I never incarnated as a rock. Rocks aren't alive. I could entertain... No. The rocks... You don't incarnate as a rock. You incarnate as an intelligence that it just kind of exists in the mineral world. So it's not like a rock has an elemental soul and then you break it in half and there are two elemental souls. Or you break it in half and which one has the soul in it and which one doesn't. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's like... The earth itself is a kingdom that elementals stay in, and they, of a certain level. It's only when they kind of enter the plant or vegetable kingdom that they're able to differentiate. Like you could say a plant has its own spirit or essence, and then animals have more freedom and whatnot. But humans, with the three brains and bipedal nature, we have the opportunity to consciously go above ourselves. Animals are great, but they're automatic fundamentally. Animals have virtue, but they only have the virtue that they're bestowed. They don't necessarily get more virtue or develop a different virtue. You know, fish can't fly, and birds, well, birds don't swim in the deep sea, etc., etc. Let me sink my balls, bruh, Adamu. Musselheim. Thank you, Out Tuition. It's Musselheim and Niflheim. Musselheim, Niflheim. And on the cover there. Is Damien Eccles and Jason Louv a good starting point? If you're into Golden Dawn, sure. I mean, Jason Louv is just, you know, just into chaos magic. He looks so weird now, bruh. He's like gone bald and he's got a big beard. And welcome, esoteric programmer. You're a programmer. Do you make esoteric games, esoteric programmer? Out Tuition says, I was talking about people who believed in this, but they were adamant about rocks and minerals being base form and you reincarnate upwards, but like rocks don't die. Yeah, they need a little bit more development in their philosophy. Anyway, I'm getting like distracted, guys. We're almost through it, guys. I better finish this goddamn chapter today. In every manifestation of being, he recognized the fundamental tendency for... Yeah, we read this. Spencer. And it was esoteric, and it reminded me of Ray Pete. We all got there in the end. Also, did I answer esoteric programming your question? I think Damien Eccles is pretty solid, but I mean, look, if you're into the Golden Dawn, just read John Michael Greer. Just read Circles of Power, bro. Just read Circles of Power and then just go to Israel Regardie. That, in all honesty, that's all you need for Golden Dawn. That's literally all you need. And you know, Mark Stavish is cool. I like Mark Stavish and Freda Arca. They're probably two of my more favorite modern authors, I would say. 33 people in chat. Hey! Now, the chief position in the Italian school of philosophy should be awarded to Giordano Bruno, of course, who, after enthusiastically accepting Copernicus's theory that the sun is the center of the solar system, declared the sun to be a star and all stars to be suns. In Bruno's time, the Earth was regarded as the center of all creation. Consequently, when he thus relegated the world and man to an obscure corner in space, the effect was cataclysmic. For the heresy of affirming a multiplicity of universes and conceiving cosmos to be so vast that no single creed could fill it, Bruno paid the forfeit of his life. He said, the cosmos is like your mum, so vast, nothing, no single creed could fill it. Christian Trinity, okay. Now we're getting into Christian philosophers. Is there a little sub thing for this that is forgotten? From Hohen's Ancient Mysteries Described. In an effort to set forth, in an appropriate figure, the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, it was necessary to devise an image in which the three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, were separate yet one. In different parts of Europe, Europe may be seen figures similar to above, wherein three faces are united in one head. This is a legitimate method to those able to realize the sacred significance of the threefold head, a great mystery is revealed. However, in the presence of such applications of symbology, in Christian art, it is scarcely proper to consider the philosophers of other faiths as benighted, if, like the Hindus, they have a three-faced Brahman, or like the Romans, a two-faced Janus. Such a Janus. Everyone talking about circles of power in the chat now. Hell yeah. John Michael Greer would be pleased. Vicoism. Vico, this is interesting. I haven't heard anyone mention Vico in a while. Vico, I'm pretty sure. I haven't read Vico. I had a friend tell me about Vico. Oh my god. That, like, Spengler is kind of like Vico come again. And I'm like, oh, it made me interested, but I never got around to it. So let's see what he says. Vicoism. See if it's the same person I'm thinking of. Is a philosophy based on the conclusions of Giovanni Battista Vico, who held that God controls his world not miraculously, but through natural law. Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. So, yeah, so there is God, but he plays the game. And he has to abide by the rules then. The laws by which men rule themselves, Vico declared, issue from a spiritual source within mankind which is en rapport with the law of the deity. Hence, material law is of divine origin and reflects the dictates of the spiritual father. The philosophy of ontologism developed by... so it doesn't really go into his main philosophy. Okay. Vincenzo... How do I pronounce this? Vincenzo Ghiberti, generally considered more as a theologian than a philosopher, posits God as the only being and the origin of all knowledge, knowledge being identical with the deity itself. So God is to be acquired. God is consequently called being. All other manifestations are existences. Truth is to be discovered through reflection upon this mystery. Very interesting. Very interesting. So God created the world and laws and needs to follow them, asks another guy. So think of it like this. You are playing poker with God. God gets a 2-pair and you get a full house. Who wins? Well, God is God. He could change the rules, right, and be like a 2-pair, beats a flush, but then you're not playing poker. By violating the rules, it's no longer poker. So here's the thing. It's like he sets up these natural laws, and then he uses the laws and influences the world like that. It's like, imagine a spinning top, like the galaxy is a spinning top, like a Beyblade. God let it rip, and it's moving. And yeah, he can influence, or maybe you blow on the spinning top to move it in a certain way. But if he was to forcefully stop it and then try and manipulate something, he could do that, but it would destroy the game. It would destroy the universe. You know what I mean, another guy? You know what I'm trying to get at? Scouse, howdy. In the chat. You're taking a nap, huh? Can I start from the top? Yeah, sure thing. No. Outtuition. I had an interesting talk with my buddy the other day, and I proposed what would be the Trinity equivalent for Lucifer. Well, Lucifer is an opposite of the Christ. I mean, Christ or God is not in parallel to Lucifer. Lucifer is in parallel to Archangel Michael. That's one thing you should remember. Craig Howard pulled that card metaphor from In Search of the Miraculous. Which card metaphor? The God playing cards of God? Does tripartite Lucifer wield a trident? Okay. I'll check it out after the stream. Guys. Another guy says, well, I think I get it, but it really makes it look like God isn't the omniscient almighty. No, he is omniscient, but if he uses his power to, like, just freaking, I don't know, change your fridge into a giant ice cream, it would end the universe, so to speak. It's the whole thing of, can God create a rock that it's not that he can't lift. Can God create a rock that's unliftable? Yes. Can he then lift it? Yes, but the universe would end. So he's not going to. That's the principle. So truth is to be discovered through reflection upon this mystery. The most important modern philosophers is Benedetto Croce, a Hegelian idealist. So this is interesting, because remember, the Italian Hegelians are the ones that kind of got together with Mussolini and were like, because Julius Evola was a Hegelian. Like, his whole, before he became a traditionalist and joined Gunan, Evola created magical idealism, which is a based philosophy, by the way. It's so fucking good. Someone's got to translate all of that out of Italian. Outtuition says, but he mirrors God to mock him. Yeah, so. We're talking about Lucifer still. But yeah. We're getting into Italian idealism now. Looks interesting. Let's see if he mentions Giovanni Gentile. I guess no, he wouldn't, because Gentile wouldn't be that big at this point in time when he wrote the book. Nathan Scott, the universe is a Beyblade and God let it rip is the best thing you've heard in a while, huh? See ya, Valkyrie. Have a good rest of your day. Now, Croce conceives ideas to be the only reality, as all idealists do. He is anti-theological in his viewpoints, does not believe in the immortality of the soul, and seeks to substitute ethics and aesthetics for religion. I mean, if parapsychology actually got absorbed into science, you could potentially do away with organized religion, and art could fulfill all of the meaning that religion has, but that's never going to happen because they can't let us have magical powers. Now, among other branches of Italian philosophy should be mentioned sensationalism, okay, which posits the sense perceptions as the sole channels for the reception of knowledge. Criticism or the philosophy of accurate judgment, the neo-scholasticism, which is a revival of Thomasism encouraged by the Roman Catholic Church. Oh, that's interesting. It's very interesting. So there's a neo-Thomistic philosophy in it coming out of Italy. Very interesting. Esoteric programmer. You're a comp engineer. Okay. That is into how tech stuff affects the mind. Ooh. In an alchemy, as in within, so without, hopefully push the archetypal cyborg forward. You got to get, well, if that's esoteric programming, you got to get into parapsychology then. You got to get into parapsychology. Craig says, the teachers ask this what God can't do. The kid says something to the effect of, can't beat a superior hand with an inferior one. Yeah. Yeah. Esoteric programmer with a dash of esoteric knowledge. No immortality of the soul. Trash. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, you know, Gurdjieff is against immortality of, I mean, the personality, I should say. It's more that this immortality is something that must be constructed. I should say there as well, like, parapsychology being absorbed into the sciences, the reason why that would be so significant is because then people could gain access, or you could say knowledge of metaphysical realities without an intercessor. So you wouldn't, there would still, I guess there would still be religions. There just wouldn't be, you wouldn't need an organization, a priest to pray for you on your behalf. You would just be like, I'm just going to go talk to the angels, bro. What up? Why would you need a priest in that case? The two outstanding schools of American philosophy are transcendentalism and pragmatism. Let's go, William James! Bruh. Got a plane flying overhead. Transcendentalism, exemplified in the writings of Ralph Waldo Emerson, emphasizes the power of the transcendental over the physical, very based. Many of Emerson's writings show pronounced Oriental influence, particularly his essays on the Oversoul, oh baby, and the law of compensation. The theory of pragmatism, while not original with Professor William James, owes its widespread popularity as a philosophic tenet to his efforts. Pragmatism may be defined as the doctrine that the meaning and nature of things are to be discovered from their considerations of their consequences. It's interesting, William James and Henry Bergson were alive at the same time, and they were both the presidents of the Psychical Research Society. And it's good to know that, like, Nietzsche died really young. If Nietzsche had lived, he would have been contemporary with these two guys. And it's one of those, like, what if? What if, like, if Nietzsche had lived, Nietzsche, Henri Bergson, and William James would have all touched tips in the Psychical Research Society and become occultists together. It would have been based. It would have been so cool. Ugh. But alas, that timeline never happened. For us, we missed out. The true, according to James, is only an expedient in the way of our thinking, just as the right is only an expedient in the way of our behaving. See pragmatism. John Dewey, the instrumentalist, who applies the experimental attitude to all the aims of life, should be considered a commentator of James. To Dewey, growth and change are limitless, and no ultimates are postulated. The long residence in America of George Santayana warrants the listing of this great Spaniard among the ranks of American philosophers, defending himself with the shield of skepticism alike from the illusions of the senses and the cumulative errors of the ages. Santayana seeks to lead mankind into a more apprehending state denominated by him the life of reason. Okay, cool. Adam asks, you think they'd play Magic the Gathering together if you live longer? Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, William James, yeah, he'd play a red deck. For real. He'd play a red deck, Nietzsche would go black and white, you know, Bergson would do a blue. You know, that's what's up. Esoteric program on parapsychology. I found an electrical ENG Dean Radin PhD wrote this book, Real Magic Ancient. Yeah, yes. Always been skeptical though. Yeah, Dean Radin's stuff is gold. Read Dean Radin's stuff. That's his Dean Radin. This is Dean Radin's knowledge, and this is your mind. Just that's what happens, and then like he just opens up your mind dossier to all the parapsychology that you could ever want. It's just it's fantastic. Trust me. In addition to the authorities already quoted In the preparation of the foregoing abstract of the main branches of philosophic thought, the present writer has had recourse to Stanley's History of Philosophy, Morel's An Historical and Critical View of the Speculative Philosophy of Europe, and in the 19th century, Singer's Modern Thinkers and Present Problems, Rand's Modern Classical Philosophers, Windelband's? Is that a V? Is he German, or is it just Windelband's? History of Philosophy, Perry's Present Philosophical Tendencies, Hamilton's Lectures on Metaphysics and Logic, and Durant's The Story of Philosophy. Okay, so that's what he read all of those books and summed up this entire thing for us. Pretty cray. Pretty cray. Having thus traced the more or less sequential development of philosophical speculation from Thales to James and Bergson, it is now in order to direct the reader's attention to the elements leading to and the circumstances attendant upon the genesis of philosophic thinking. Although the Hellenes proved themselves peculiarly responsive to the disciplines of philosophy, this science of sciences should not be considered indigenous to them. Although some Grecians, writes Thomas Stanley, have challenged to their nation the original of philosophy, yet the more learned of them have acknowledged it to be derived from the East. The magnificent institutions of Hindu, Chaldean, and Egyptian learning must be recognized as the actual source of Greek wisdom, very based. The last was patterned after the shadow cast by the sanctuaries of Ellora, Ur, and Memphis. I guess Ellora is Chaldean capital? The capital of Chaldea. Okay, I've never heard that before. Really cool. Ur is the capital of Samaria. No, wait. What do you say? Chaldea, Egypt, and Hindustan. Where's the fuck's Ellora? Ur would be in the Middle East, where Chaldea is. What the fuck's Ellora? Memphis is Egypt, for real. Ellora Caves, India. Okay, so Ellora is in India. Let's go. And Memphis, upon the thought substance of a primitive people. Thales, Pythagoras, Plato, in their philosophic wanderings, contacted many distant cults and brought back the lore of Egypt. And in the inscrutable Orient. Yes, indeed. Adamu says, would you like to interview Dean Radin? Esoterica did one with him. Did he? I know. Esoterica did an interview with Dean Radin? Bah, no way. I would like to interview all of these people, but baby steps. I'm not that good at interviewing. I want it to be good when I eventually get to them. You'll definitely start reading this book. The Secret Teachings book. I've got a link in the description to the site that I'm reading off, so you can check that out. But yeah, there's a PDFs all over. You can download the PDF off off the CIA website, or you can just go for it. You can just go for it, esoteric programmer. Now, did I read this? Wanderings. Yes, I did. Now, from indisputable facts such as these, it is evident that philosophy emerged from religious mysteries of antiquity, not being separated from religion until after the decay of the mysteries. Hence he who would fathom the depths of philosophic thought must familiarize himself with the teachings of those initiated priests, designated as the first custodians of divine revelation. The mysteries claimed to be the guardians of a transcendental knowledge, so profound as to be incomprehensible, save to the most exalted intellect, and so potent as to be revealed with safety only to those in whomst personal ambition was dead, and who had consecrated their lives to unselfish service of humanity. Both the indignity of these sacred institutions and the validity of their claims to possession of universal wisdom are attested by the most illustrious philosophers of antiquity, who were themselves initiated into the profundities of the secret doctrine, who bore witness to its efficacy. So this is what's missing from philosophy. The philosophers of old were connected to the mysteries, whereas the philosophers of nowadays are just connected to their senses. Disgusting. Their reason. Ugh. They need to become mystics, not just philosophers. Yeah, there's 2 Telegram chats. There's a secret chat, and then there's just the universal one, which all of my mods are very, they're very ban friend. They go on a ban frenzy every now and then, and you might just get banned. The question may be legitimately propounded. Did I read this? Yeah, no. Blah, blah. The question may be legitimately propounded. If these ancient mystical institutions were of such great pith and moment, why is so little information now available concerning them? And the arcana they claim to possess? The answer is simple enough. The mysteries were secret societies binding their initiates to inviolable secrecy and avenging with death the betrayal of their sacred trust. Although these schools were the true inspiration of the various doctrines promulgated by the ancient philosophers, the fountainhead of those doctrines has never been revealed to the profane. Furthermore, in the lapse of time, the teachings became so inextricably linked with the names of their disseminators that the actual but recondite source, the mysteries, came to be wholly ignored. Yes. Yes, another guy. We must all become lords of mystery. Symbolism is the language of the mysteries, and this is what Manly P. Hall teaches us. He's a Kabbalistic symbolist, teaching us symbolic Kabbalah in a sense. In fact, it is the language not only of mysticism and philosophy, but of all nature. For every law and power active in universal procedure is manifested to the limited sense perceptions of man through the medium of symbol. Every form existing in the diversified sphere of being is symbolic of the divine activity by which it is produced. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language. Rejecting man conceived dialects as inadequate and unworthy to perpetuate divine ideas. The mysteries thus chose symbolism as a far more ingenious and ideal method to preserve their transcendental knowledge. In a single figure, a symbol may both reveal and conceal, very based. For the wise, the subject of the symbol is obvious, while the ignorant, the figure remains inscrutable. Hence, he who seeks to unveil the secret doctrine of antiquity must search for that doctrine, not upon pages of books which might fall into the hands of the unworthy, but in the place where it was originally concealed. Now we're getting creamed in the pants, baby. Let's go. Let's go. We're going to change our pants after this one. Far-sighted were the initiates of antiquity. They realized that nations come and go, that empires rise and fall, and that the golden ages of art, science, and idealism are succeeded by the dark ages of superstition. With the needs of posterity foremost in mind, the sages of old went to inconceivable extremes to make certain that their knowledge must be preserved. They engraved it upon the face of mountains, concealed it within the measurements of colossal images, each of which was a geometric marvel. Their knowledge of chemistry and mathematics they hid within mythologies, which the ignorant would perpetuate, all in the spans and arches of their temples, which time has not entirely obliterated. They wrote in characters, and neither the vandalism of men nor the ruthlessness of the elements could completely efface. Today, men gaze in awe, with awe and reverence, upon the mighty Menons, standing alone on the sands of Egypt, or upon the strange terraced pyramids of Palenque? Mute testimonies these are of the lost arts and sciences of antiquity, and concealed this wisdom must remain until this race has learned to read the universal language. Symbolism. The book to which this is the introduction is dedicated to the proposition that concealed within the emblematic figures, allegories, and rituals of the ancients is a secret doctrine concerning the inner mysteries of life, which doctrine has been preserved in toto among a small band of initiated minds since the beginning of the world. Departing, these illumined philosophers left their formulae that others too might attain to understanding, but lest these secret processes fall into uncultured hands and be perverted, the great arcanum was always concealed in symbol or allegory, and those who can today discover its lost keys may open with them a treasure house of philosophic, scientific, and religious truths. Baby. I don't know about you guys, but I need a cigarette. Oh, hello. We got a bit of an Orphic Egosi here. I think this this image is a bit big. Wait, let me just refresh the page. Maybe that'll help a little out. There we go. Oh, there we go. The images wrap around much better now. Okay. I should have... Yes. The Orphic Egg. From Bryant's An Analysis of Ancient Mythology, the ancient symbol of the Orphic mysteries was the serpent-entwined egg, which signified cosmos as encircled by fiery creative spirit. The egg also represents the soul of the philosopher. The serpent, the mysteries. At the time of initiation, the shell broke, and man emerges from the embryonic state of physical existence wherein he had remained through the fetal period of philosophic regeneration. Based beyond belief, indeed. Who's got to change their pants? Well, I do. Honey, 2 towels. We're going to need 2 towels. So that's it. We did it. Introduction has come to a close of Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages. We ballin'. Next week, next chapter. The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies, which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism. This one's got the images? Oh, baby, look at this. Look at this. Well, this will be the next one we dig our teeth into. Our teeth. Sorry, I should say. Bruh. Ugh. That's good. That was good. My, yeah. Oof. I'm feeling it. So, thank y'all for coming along. Yeah, the introduction was only 3 live streams, another guy. Hey, Necrodancer, when did you pop in? Anyway. Thank y'all. We building the Temple of Solomon with this one, indeed. Thank y'all for coming along. Oh, damn, Tyler, $20. Thank you very much. And thank you, humble viewer in the future, watching my insane ramblings as we make it through. We've gone through the entire history of philosophy, and now let's get through... We'll be getting through the ancient mysteries. Come back next week. Same time, Same place, same occultussy to just break open and get all of that juicy gnosis out of. Let's go. See y'all then. Ricky PP out.